also that you can be identified. And we wait a couple of minutes so we can scan your badges.
Ah, sí. A ver si está bien. Enorme este auditorio. 2.500 personas. Sí, hoy estamos tocando esto en la conversación. No te preocupes. Después del caso de que
¿A qué te refieres?
Adrián ayer
Sí, pero hablamos del tema de la comisión fiscal.
Ah, ok, ajá.
El otro tema ni lo mencionó.
Bueno, no
ni lo
importa.
mencionó.
No, sí, pero digo, en general.
Ah, sí, hay una asamblea. ¿Cuál es el código?
Es un poco
Ella te lo
tenso,
dice.
sí. Ella te cuenta.
¿Cuál es el código?
Y le digo, pero a ver qué pasó. ¿Tú sabes qué pasó? Le digo, sé que hubo algo, pero no tengo que.
Se negó.
Yo me la llevé al terreno de Legarra. Pero Amaya es materia.
Preguntas
de Amaya. No, es que era clasificación comercial y me pareció muy bueno que haya clasificación. Que sí, pero yo veo la clasificación así y la materia no técnica.
Había un otro que acho que cambié de saco. Sí, no, mas había otro papelito diferente de este que coloqué junto a este, só que deixei en mi otro saco. Cambié de saco.
Bien, mientras continúan con la operación de...
So while they continue to scan the badges, let me remind you that the network LACNIC Eventos is not available until tomorrow in this hall. So let's invite the president of the board of LACNIC, Alejandro Guzman, who will give you a message.
At 6:39, we're going to start this session on May 6, 2025. This will be the second call for the General Assembly of the LACNIC. This was convened on the 30th of March 2025, and this was communicated by a circular letter submitted to the members on April 3rd, 2025. As per the attendance registry, we have 127 full members from 386 votes. As a result, and having verified the quorum, we submit to your consideration the first item in the order of business, appointing the chair and the secretary of this assembly. The President and the Secretary of the Board are present here. According to Article 26 of the bylaws, reformed in 2022, they will have the positions of chair and secretary of this assembly. So, regardless of the above, we communicate to the assembly that the secretary will be, the advisor will be Mr. Jimenez Arechaga, who has been the secretary of this assembly since 2024. Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome. I'm Alicia Zucchetti. I'm part of LACNIC staff. From now on, we'll be having the ordinary assembly of LACNIC. With us are the members of the board, Ernesto Major, executive CEO of LACNIC, and Eduardo Jimenez, legal advisor of the organization. We're now going to invite you to have a brief video explaining how the procedure works. Welcome to LACNIC's General Assembly. Before we begin with the meeting and the voting of the date, please remember, only members who are in the room and who are registered for the meeting will be allowed to vote. The voting system will only work through the Assembly network. Access to the meeting is allowed on only one device at a time. Everyone must have their badges on hand to enter their username and password and to log through the system eventos.lacnic.net/assembly/login. During the assembly, a vote auditing device will be available inside the room. How to vote in the assembly? Enter the assembly system. Once the page is loaded, type your ID in the field ID Gafete. If you cannot identify your ID, this is the number on the label on the front of your badge and beneath the barcode. Next, you enter your assembly code. This is the number found on the label on the back of your badge. By clicking enter, you will be entitled to vote. How many organizations are you voting for? If you're voting for only one organization, select the option you wish to vote for. Click on Submit Vote and then Confirm Vote. If you're voting for two or more organizations, will you vote for the same option for all? If you vote on behalf of two or more organizations, choose the same option. Select the option for which you wish to vote. For all organizations, click on Submit Vote and then click on Confirm Vote. If you vote for two or more organizations and vote for different options, check the differentiated vote option. Select the option that each organization will vote for, click on Submit Vote, and then click Confirm Vote. Important. Regardless of the number of organizations for which you vote and whether the votes are differentiated or not, once you have clicked the Submit Vote button, you can always cancel the selected option and then choose again. When the next question is active, you will have to enter your data again in the badge ID and assembly code fields and repeat the procedure. Let the assembly begin. So we will now continue. Let me mention some important points to take into account. To vote using the assembly voting system, you have to be connected to the LACNIC-assembly in uppercase. And as per the bylaws, only members are entitled to speak during the assembly, so only comments made in person by the LACNIC members and who have registered in the relevant space of this assembly. Only they are entitled to speak. Questions or comments sent through Zoom cannot be read out in the microphone, nor can they be considered during this instance. During the session, we have a computer that is in the first row, and there you can audit the voting. Please bear in mind that you can only access the system through one device at a time. Likewise, we inform you that on this occasion we'll be testing a new voting system. Some of the voters who are here in the room will participate in this test in order to verify its operation for a potential future implementation. Once the assembly is over, we invite all the members in the room to make a practical exercise with the voting system. This instance will allow us to have a more comprehensive test of how this works. First of all, I would like to invite Ernesto Majo to test the voting system. Thank you, Ernesto. And from now on, we begin the assembly. Thank you, Alicia. As Alicia was saying, we always begin with a question to calibrate the voting system. This is a question that has no connotation, but it can serve to calibrate the system and to be sure that everyone has access to the system and can proceed to the relevant voting in the assembly.
The question we offer now is, if you had to choose between beer and coffee in the afternoon coffee breaks, what would you rather have? If anybody's having problems to vote, please ask the staff. They can help you out. Raise your hands so that they'll identify who needs assistance.
Espera un segundo, falta Ali.
Remember that in order to participate, you must check the issues specified. If you've checked, if you haven't checked yet, you won't be able to participate. Please, if you haven't done it, raise your hands and approach the contact points. There. Please, there in the middle. Somebody there has not been checked. Please check those credentials.
¿Alguien no ha podido ser chequeado?
Is there anybody that has not been checked yet? So you're unable to vote?
A la izquierda de la sala hay una persona que todavía no ha sido chequeada.
There to your left, there's somebody that hasn't been checked yet. Could you please go and help that person? Raise your hands, please, if you haven't been checked or if you have been unable to vote, so they can address your problem. There at the back, there are still many people that are having trouble.
¿Hay alguien que todavía no haya podido votar? Por favor, que levante.
Is there anybody left? Please raise your hands. Rodrigo there. And Gerardo here at the front.
¿Alguien todavía no ha podido votar? Por favor.
Anybody who hasn't been able to vote, raise your hands.
Tenemos unas personas en el fondo aquí, Nico, en el medio. Ahí en el medio, al fondo. Levante la mano, por favor. Rodrigo, allá en medio.
Dice. Primero. Raise your hands, please, if you haven't been able to vote.
¿Dónde está Joao? ¿Es esto? ¿Se van?
¿Alguien más que no haya podido votar, por favor?
Anybody else left? Raise your hands.
¿Queda alguien que no haya podido votar?
Anybody left? Raise your hands so we can help you.
Nico. ¿Alguien más que no haya podido votar? Por favor, levante.
Raise your hand so we can help you, or if not, we'll start. We'll get started with the assembly.
Vamos a cerrar la votación, dado que esta es una...
So this is just a test. So the important thing was to make sure that you were all enabled and that you could vote. So we put an end to this test. And of course, if you have any problem in the next time you vote, when we are already going to be formally in the assembly, then please request assistance. So the result of the election, let's see, beer or coffee? So Alejandro. Okay, hello. So apparently in the coffee breaks, we'll now consider the second point in the agenda, consider and approve the all the items and the report of the internal audit and the report for 2024. So the board, through the CEO Ernesto Majo and the finance director Diego Mena and the fiscal and electoral committees make use of take the floor. So let's start with the report by the president of the board. So we want to share the activities of the board in 2024, and we continue to think that it is very important to share these reports so that you may be aware of what the board is doing. Finally, the management of this entity is a responsibility that the assembly entrusts the board. So we want you to know exactly how we are fulfilling this task that we have been mandated as the board. So let me remind you what the board, the members of the board, we're all present. Rafaelito Ibarra from El Salvador, Javier Salazar of Mexico, Carmen Dennis from Mexico, that is the second secretary, Esteban Lescano, that is the secretary of the board, who comes from Argentina, Wagner Maya, second treasurer from Brazil, Gabriel Adonailo, treasurer Argentina, Evandro Baronil, vice president from Brazil, and myself, Alejandro Guzman, the president of the board from Colombia. If you want to know more about basically how the board operates the attributions and the positions, that you have a barcode and you can get more information. So how does the board work in the decision-making process? We have several channels for communication and meetings. First of all, we have a mailing list. The mailing list it's actually two. One that has the executive director, and the other one only for the directors that were elected by the members or the assembly. We use them for different topics, and we have online meetings every month. We have at least one virtual meeting, except for the months where we meet in person. Last year we met 7 times, and although it says 2 hours each, we always extend it more, like half an hour or an hour more, sometimes 2.5 hours, 3 hours, to discuss the different topics. Now we'll see those topics in detail. We have 4 meetings in person annually from 2 to 3 days each. Basically, 2 of them are done during LACNIC events, such as, for instance, in this meeting of LACNIC 43, we had the meeting on Saturday and Sunday, so that we could be available the rest of the week. And we have one where we do an annual review of everything that happened. We examine all the results, and we approve things for the next year that is at headquarters of LACNIC in Montevideo de Ser.
In addition to that, we have several internal and external committees. Some of the committees we have are finances, risk, information security. In the past we had 1, and now we have 2 different committees because of the relevance of each. We also have a procedures committee, an ethics committee, and we have participation in the NROEC, which is the Executive Council, and the ASOAC. We have a representative of the board there. If you wish to know more about what we do during the meetings and the decisions we made, the minutes are public. We produce minutes from each meeting. This is reviewed by the board and are then published, and all the minutes are published very few days or weeks afterwards. This is approved in the following round of the board, and these are published. This is a QR code where you can access and read the minutes of the meetings, or also look them up in LACNIC's website. So whatever we discuss and decide during the meetings is published for the members. During the year, we organize about 30 meetings, both in person or virtual meetings, and the meetings of the committees separately. This is quite a busy slide. I won't go into the details, but this graph intends to show how LACNIC is managed as an organization. We basically know that the board is elected by the members during the assembly, and the objective is to provide the organization with the guidance, the government guidance, and this sets the framework to carry out our activities. This also has to be supported with strategic procedures. We have 4 main strategic procedures that define the remaining actions of the organization. One has to do with institutional actions, other has to do with risk management, the third one has to do with strategic management, and the fourth is strategic financial management. Then we have processes for the implementation. These are specific actions to implement the strategic processes. These are the registry services, the policy development, and the community building, which is through the events. We have inputs and outputs. The inputs and the outputs. The inputs come from the members and for the community and the members. We have a good system to measure what we do and how we can improve things. We're measuring indicators at all times, and these are used for decision-making processes to maintain or improve the processes and results we have. We also have support processes because LACNIC is a registry. But LACNIC is also an organization that has its staff, it provides services, and these support processes allow us to complete and comply with our mission. We have human resources, processes, communications, financial and operational management, maintenance, and security and travel management. If you wish to learn more of how have more information as to how LACNIC works, please approach members of the staff. Let me stress the fact that so that LACNIC can work as well as it has for such a long time and that we improve, a strong focus is applied on best practices and the management of the organization. Although we are a small organization, the truth is that the way in this is managed by the board and by the staff, we seek to apply best practices throughout the organization. As a result, we have an outstanding performance. How is the time of the board distributed? Although we have clarified in several occasions, the board is appointed but not to manage the IP addresses. This is one of the services we have in the staff. The board has a role of making the organization work properly. That is why a large share of our time is not focused on technical issues or assigning resources, but more related to making things work in the best way possible. This is a time distribution, the breakdown. The quarter of the time is dedicated to the internal organization of LACNIC, how we work. This has to do with hiring and managing the contracts and how resources are used. 16% is dedicated to financial affairs. 22% are dedicated to community activities. 8% is dedicated to procedures, 17% to the operations of LACNIC, 5% has to do with the bylaws, and 5% is miscellaneous. This includes the relationship with LACNIC to other organizations such as ICANN, LACChain, NROs, other RIRs, and so on. And some might ask yourself, how can we measure this time in such great detail? And this is because the board agendas is clearly distributed based on the time dedicated to the different topics. This is both for the board and for the various committees. Part of the work we do has to do with procedures and policies. According to LACNIC's bylaws, the overall framework has been defined, and then we have the rules. But all this has to be taken to practice, namely how this is implemented in the organization and the community. The board has the role of defining the policies and guidelines in coordination with the staff. Some of the things that we reviewed during the past year is that we now have the version 6 of the investment policy. We also reviewed the creation of the procedures committee and its regulation. We saw that the entire board was spending too much time in reviewing the different procedures, and this could become quite chaotic. So it was decided to create a procedures committee. So some of the members of the board focus more on these tasks, and during the plenary sessions, more general things are discussed involving the procedures. This has optimized the time dedicated to this topic. The regulation on incompatibilities and capacities was reviewed. The board, this has to do with the higher and higher standards we have in the organization and how this affects the performance. We also reviewed the regulation on skills, the general policy on information security, the risk policy, the spending transfer policy, and then the definition and functioning of the various committees of the board. So if an idea arises for having a new committee, or if one of the existing committees no longer is necessary, then these are the things that are reviewed during the sessions. We also had several resolutions. 38 resolutions had to be reviewed during the year. These are some of the most important ones. We have to review and approve what will be submitted to the Assembly each year. Also, to participate in the webinar we have when major decisions have to be made, as was the case last year. We also had to review whether we extended the waiver for the IPv6 only memberships. They have a waiver whereby they pay less for these resources, and basically a deadline was met, and then we analyzed whether it was necessary to continue developing IPv6 in the region or to shift this waiver to maintaining for 1 year the discount for ASNs for nano and micro ISPs. We appointed a member of the staff to the IANA Review Committee, the NRO. We ratified the appointment of a representative for the ASO Address Council Community, AC, and for the IANA Review Council of the NRO. Because we have an external audit, we approved the extension of the contract with KPMG, which is the external accounting auditor, until the 2024 annual report. We approved the legal authority of the board. Last year there was an adjustment to the membership fees, and we also accepted an invitation for the CEO LACNIC to become part of the strategic committee of Red Clara. So these are just a few of the 38 decisions made in 2024. Regarding policies, the board only has one specific role when we review whether we ratify or not a given policy. Basically, last year there were 2 policies that were ratified. One was not ratified. Those that were ratified were LAC 2023-3 version 2, considerations to declare a proposal as abandoned, and this had to do with proposals submitted that were no longer discussed, would no longer be included in the register, and would be abandoned so that they would not produce any noise. And we ratified proposal 2026 version 2, special exemption for critical infrastructure providers, global critical infrastructure providers. The one that was not ratified was one of eliminating the rows in the case of recovered resources, and entrusted the staff with the preparation of a reference framework to submit this to the community in LACNIC's public policy forum. So basically they were involved in this activity in order to submit this later to the community. This has to set clearly that this has to establish a deadline for the policies discussed during the forum. In addition to this, the staff prepares different reports. Different topics are discussed during the different months. There are financial reports and on quarterly investments, reports to the NIR authorities, for example, Mexico and Brazil, to be sure that they are complying with the policies for assigning resources in their own territories. So we audit the NIRs. We can receive a report of the quality audit. We conduct an evaluation of each LACNIC event, which are twice a year. We see what we can improve. We report on the follow-up of the annual operational planning, risk and security reports, and information security reports. This is done annually. Internal control follow-up. Last year we dedicated quite a long time, a lot to reports on ICP2 and AFRINIC. Last year was a special year. There was a transition in terms of leadership. Now, in May 10 last year, Oscar Robles, who was our CEO, communicated his decision to follow a different path in his life, both personally and professionally. So basically, this triggered a new process regarding how we select the new CEO.
By June the 4th, we got together, we accepted his our renunciation, and we took some time where we did a couple of things, including that we had been working at something that was a succession plan, As in LACNIC, we have some key positions that are difficult to replace and that require a certain knowledge or skills. And LACNIC, as a board, we entrusted the executive director some years ago to have a succession plan for those key positions. So this was one of the inputs that we considered when electing the next CEO, and after evaluating all the options possible, we decided that Ernesto Majo was the assistant CEO. The succession plan was ready. Some days earlier, we started with the priming. While Oscar closed the cycle, Ernesto gradually adopted the functions, and by November the 1st, then Ernesto assumed as the CEO. And again, we took this decision very calmly, because who works as the person who's acting as CEO has a direct impact on the staff, the community. So we wanted to make sure that we would have the best, and we haven't repented of the. So, as a matter of fact, we received very good results from all the regions as to how calm our transition had been, because in other communities it was more chaotic with meltdowns. So everybody's happy with the process. So now I would ask the electoral committee that will discuss what happened in 2024. Good afternoon, everyone. We came here to present, the LACNIC's electoral committee. The committee includes members of several countries. With me today, my colleague Nancy Cordova of Peru, and I'm Ignacio Ribeiro, and I'm from Argentina. Although the other members of the commission could not come, Cristobal Zapita Pirado from Mexico and Maria Jose Franco Lugo from Paraguay. Unfortunately, they couldn't come. There you have the pictures of the colleagues of the commission. And also, I especially want to mention Marcelo Corradini of Brazil, who's no longer with us. Unfortunately, he passed away. Marcelo was a member of the electoral committee since 2015, and he passed away recently. And he had it was wonderful the way he took his disease. He was a firm believer of the internet service of people, and he leaves us the example of his joy and his optimism. Thank you for this round of applause for him. This is the best way to say goodbye, to pay tribute to his typical cheerfulness. So we want to send our greetings, and precisely we are saying goodbye to him in Brazil, his homeland. So Nancy is now going to tell you what the Commission did in 2024. Good afternoon. The Electoral Committee worked in 3 processes of elections last year. the first elections were for the fiscal committee, where Adriana Ibarra of Mexico got elected. Then we have the electoral committee. 3 candidates were presented. 2 were elected: Marcelo Corradini from Brazil and Ignacio Ribeiro from Argentina. And in the board of directors, there were 5 candidates, and 3 were considered the best fit for the 3 vacancies. And they elected Alejandro Guzmán of Colombia, Evandro Varonil from Brazil, and Esteban Lescano from Argentina. It is important to highlight that since the last elections, we had been evaluating knowledge prior to accepting the nomination of a candidate. And the board's process, well, there were 5 nominees, 3 of whom passed the exams, and they were considered fit for election. So, in closing, let's tell you that the roles of the electoral committee are not they are not just in charge of the statutory elections, but also the community elections. The board appointed us as the surveyors of those processes. The co-chairs in the public policy forums, the ASO-AC elections, the members decided by the community, and the NRO. In each election, we need to evaluate the nominees, and we accept them or reject them depending on their skills. And so based on their skills. So we ensure transparency in all the electoral processes. In June, we are going to call for extraordinary elections to cover Marcelo's vacancy. So that's all. Thank you. So, we change the script. We are going. So now it's my turn to give you the report of the activities for 2024. Thank you, Nancy and Nacho. Let's wait for the presentation. There are 4 minutes 40. We have time. So I was asked to do this report of 2024, and what I intend to do with my presentation is to walk you through some of the elements. We are not going to talk about all of the activities last year, because just a few weeks ago we gave you the complete report. So it's available, or it was available. It's been available for several weeks. So we don't want to bore you with so many details. So in that QR code, you can access the report. You can get it both in Spanish, in English, and in Portuguese. So you can check all the information. I'm just going to give you some elements that I consider important. So the first picture is membership, is the set of entities that are represented at this assembly that in late 2024 reached 12,906 entities that received resources from LACNIC, addressing resources, or in our coverage area, or through the national registries, NIC BR in the case of Brazil and NIC Mexico. in the case of Mexico. This growth of these memberships have grown steadily, but at lower rates than in previous years, and they incorporate memberships of IPv6 only. And last year they completed almost 1,600 entities in this category, 1,598 specifically. Now the other side of the coin is the situation of IPv4. Because we have, after the exhaustion of the IPv4 resources, we agreed with the RIRs a waiting list of those entities that were waiting for the resources returned by the community. That waiting line has grown significantly, so at present there are 1,500 entities registered. So that implies that the last entity that registered will have to wait, based on the current rate, they'll have to wait for 9 years to get IPv4 resources. So we want to be clear about it so as not to create false expectations. So this activity of LACNIC, for 23 years, we've always worried about giving the best services possible to our members. And to that aim, we use several tools, such as measuring the level of satisfaction of our members with our services. And fortunately, members acknowledge our efforts. We do this every 2 years. We measure things. We conduct a survey, including all the members. And again, they recognize that the services we provide is excellent, with 96% satisfaction overall. And this indicator has remained steady. We're not happy with that. Well, we are happy, but we also feel that we need to improve things, and we commit to that. So these surveys are also a good tool to identify the concerns of our members, things that we need to do, initiatives, if they detect any needs that need to be approached. And we do that together with our other activities. So this customer satisfaction survey is conducted every 2 years, but every year, every quarter, we measure the parameters with the organizations that interacted with us in some activity, and we measure how happy they are with our services. Last year too, our level of excellence was 95% as an average in the 4 quarterly measurements. This is a way we check that indeed we are doing a good job. And we also added a program visiting our members. It's a tool that allows us to get closer to our members at home in their territories. And so LACNIC, but also the service and the technology teams visit the countries every year, and they get together with the members in that country. These are very relevant moments where our team receives the feedback of the members, and they inform the members of the services available, because it's usually the case that the people understand that something is available, but it's not being properly received. So it's during those visits in person where we address those issues very efficiently. Last year we were in contact with 130 entities in 4 countries that we visited: El Salvador, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Dominican Republic. We focused in Central America and the Caribbean. And another strategy that we use is to participate in third-party events, including, for instance, in Colombia or the Canto in the Caribbean.
And also in other relevant spaces of the industry where We are in contact with entities that are members, some of them. Others are interested in the services we provide, so we cater for the community in the region. And the fourth element are the events. Events such as this one here. These are instances that are of great value. Our community gets in contact with the entire team, and beyond the different tutorials, talks, presentations, the assembly, of course, you can also come to the stand, to our booth, and see if you can share any issues that you might have regarding your resources. LACNIC 43 is an example of activities such as these. So all this information we receive, all this input, all these activities we carry out to cater for the needs of our members are then turned into actions, specific actions for the benefit of the services we offer. In this case, I'd like to dwell on two set of activities. One is the implementation of our own systems, a new CRM that we concluded last year and allows us to have a full list of our members and to provide them with tools in order for them to also manage their own services. So this is not only about having more information, but also is transforming this information into greater responses and shorter response time. Many of the initiatives that are received become new functionalities of the member systems. For example, improvements in MiLACNIC, the members can manage the resources and services. The incorporation of a co-administration for a block, or also to be able to provide exact information of the exact status of a request, which are the pending issues. So this allows us to better understand the responsibilities if there is pending work on the side of the member or on the side of LACNIC, analyzing the information available. We also have a waiting list. This is very relevant information. And also the possibility of making massive modifications to the RPKI interface. One example that is very relevant regarding the work we do in understanding a situation and identifying problems and responding for these adequately is the deployment process for the second factor authentication in MiLACNIC. Last year, towards the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024, there was a massive incidence globally of leaks of access keys of many systems, and these access keys were filtered. Some corresponded to entities that were members of MiLACNIC. It's not that there was an intrusion to the MiLACNIC system or LACNIC system, but these were obtained through other processes. But ultimately, that information affected some of the activities of the LACNIC system. So obviously we detected that situation immediately. The first thing we did, and as a precautionary measure, to freeze the activity of these users and to inform them regarding this situation that had occurred. This was corrected. No relevant impact was occurred, but this led to the need of incorporating a second authentication factor by default. So as we work in a voluntary way with our members, we also organized a relevant information campaign on this case. We provided the mechanisms to incorporate the second authentication factor, catering for the needs of each of the members. At the end of last year, at the end of 2024, 70% of the large entities that manage more resources, so the most critical groups that would be subject to being affected by this, had already implemented the second authentication factor. To date, this value has increased to 92%. So 92 of all the major members have deployed the second authentication factor. And last year, as a voluntary and gradual process, we increased the incorporation of this tool, and today this will be incorporated to 100% of all the activities having a second authentication factor. A special word on RPKI. This is a service that has become more and more relevant in LACNIC community and also globally. As I was saying, RPKI is a service that has increased in relevance. The operators community has massively adopted RPKI. This is something that we have seen over the past 5 years. There's been a 300% increase in the ROAS. So this reflects the relevance of this service and also reflects the need that LACNIC should take the necessary actions to ensure that there's a quality service that is at the level of what the members and the operators expect. Last year, after 2 years of work, we launched the new service. The new system came into production. This was fully transparent for all the users. So obviously, this is what had to occur, but this confirms the good job done by the technology group of LACNIC. This is in coordination with the NIC-PR group. That is very important because many of the services are hosted in services and in coordination with NIC-PR. And quite obviously, we released some new Fort validator versions. This is a tool that is being used massively in the region. As you can see here, you have a QR code. You can check this information. We published a note describing all the practical details of the entire process. So if you're interested to get more information, you can check this out with the QR code. The other option is to facilitate the participation of members in these activities. This is very relevant because precisely this is where the important things occur. For example, the members' assembly. We have had this assembly for the past 23 years. We receive information from the staff, and this is evidence the compliance with the objectives and the management of the financial resources. That is why it is important to have a relevant participation both in the May but also in the October events. So the reason for organizing these events also provides the opportunity for interaction and many more activities. Now, I'd like to describe or dedicate more time to the capacity building area of LACNIC. This has become increasingly relevant. Currently, we have 18 courses available in the campus. These take place during the year at different moments. Last year, we had 30 different editions of these 18 different courses. During these courses, 8,620 participants took part in LACNIC's courses. This is the most relevant amount of persons. 34% of these students received training in IPv6, and one of the major points is the 95% satisfaction stated by these participants show how important these courses are. So 95% satisfaction with the courses offered by LACNIC. This is a great reason for joy that we have. This is a tool that has been well evaluated by our members and is used more and more. A specific fact is that these courses have been organized based on certificates last year. We completed the courses of the second certification level, and in 2025 we'll be finishing the third certification level. This task has been well received by the members. 65% of the participants are individuals who work for organizations that are LACNIC members. This is an estimation. The courses for the members are free of cost, but this provides a return equivalent to 1.4 million to the members. For us, this is very relevant, not only because of the value of the content that is offered, but also for the economic value that this implies from the economic standpoint. A further topic that I'd like to expand on is the effort that we dedicate to the operators community to have instances for applied research that benefits the network operations in the region. We have agreements with different academic centers, 7 different academic centers in the region. This has then led to 12 different types of research, and this was between last year and the current year. I'd like to stop here for a minute because this reconnection with the academia is very relevant. The connecting with the LACNIC and the operators. LACNIC arose as something closely linked to the academic networks and, of course, the initial operators. But this is a very small community, and this growth has led to these sort of separating. So we're seeking to reconnect the origins so we can conduct relevant research, and also to have people who can join the different processes. The idea is to enrich the community, to make this community grow more, make it become more powerful and better. A major effort that we have been carried out in recent times is entering the information as close as possible to the members, putting this information at the reach of the members so that relevant information for the members can then be used in the institutional processes as well as in the different operational activities of the various entities. LACNIC's blog is an initiative that dates back a couple of years. It's quite a new initiative. It's about 2 to 3 years old. We have been publishing various notes and content that has to do with technical topics and also with institutional topics. This is a QR code that allows you to access the blog. You can also subscribe, and those who have subscribed are those who are interested in information. So on a monthly basis, you can receive technical information that are provided by LACNIC's team and selected by LACNIC's team. But this also includes notes that are offered by people who have technical information to share in a generous way. As I was saying, you have to register. Please subscribe to this blog. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And if you are not interested, well, just don't subscribe.
I have a few slides left, but I think it's important to discuss, to reflect on what the events are, what they imply, promoting encounters in our community. The internet is a network of people, that build an electronic network. And I think that that's what we actually do here, is to build a network of people. increasingly broad and strong, so that the physical red or the logical network may be better and better. And that's what the events are for. There are many organizations that participate, many people with different backgrounds and interests that have an opportunity to get closer to somebody with more experience, with more expertise, or that can help them in their own activities. So for us, these events are absolutely important. The Abrint event, of course, in addition to being the greatest in LACNIC history, because of the number of people that are attending. I don't have the final number, but there were 193 people. I was told this morning. Now I'm sure there are more, but also the possibility of coming closer. So, and we come here because Abrint invited us, and we have the possibility and the benefit of participating in their activities starting tomorrow, and they can join LACNIC activities starting tomorrow too. So I think that is for the benefit of the entire community. So we are very happy to be here, and we invite you to make the most of those opportunities, either here or in the site of Abrint. So another topic, and with this I'll close, is the training and the information and the dissemination work that we do with governments in the region. This is a very important topic for us. We do it together with other organizations of the technical community, such as LACTLD, LACIX, ISO, ICANN. So we do this, we organize activities for government officials so that they may better understand how the internet works, so that when they have to do something at work, they will not harm the internet. And among those activities that we do with the governments, we work also with the security agencies, the law enforcement, the general the attorneys, and with the authorities. So we share with them what we have available, so that they may understand that when an incident takes place through the internet, what to do to mitigate it or to curb its impact, and not to accuse the internet that is happening. And now, yes, this is the last. So I have to talk about the team of LACNIC. I think that this team, when it's here at the events, it's the best moment. It's when we meet with our community, and we do everything for them. So I think that it's the support of this work responsible for each and all of the activities and the projects. And we are also very happy to know that for the 12th year in a row, for 13th in a row in 2025, we are chosen as one of the best places to work. Well, at least in Uruguay, that's where we have our headquarters. And thanks to that, we can assure that through the quality of our work and the evaluation that the staff has of the work in LACNIC, we can provide to the community the best service with the best quality. That is what we hope to do permanently. Just in closing, the QR code. If you want to read all the information, you can download it. It's available in Spanish, in Portuguese, and in English. Thank you. Before I leave, I have to invite the next speaker, our treasurer, Gabriel. Thank you for calling me honorable. So now let me tell you our roles as treasurers. The board positions are defined in consensus at the beginning of the year by all the members, and they last 1 year. Wagner, Maya, and myself, we have the important responsibility of being the treasurers. We represent the board in terms of the supervision of the activities on the financial aspects relating with the executive board, the fiscal and the external audits. The operative things is in the hands of the financial management. We are also part of the Committee of Finances. We check the survey of 4 key areas: budget, reserves, investment, and balance statement. So we keep a close monitoring of the finances and the different parties in the committee. We do this follow-up through in-person and virtual meetings that we hold year long. So now our financial manager, Diego Mena, will present the financial report of 2024 and the decision by the external audit. And after Ernesto's presentation, Hernan Arciviaco and Ibarra, the people of the fiscal committee, will tell us the work they did and the opinion. So, and I wanted to thank, in the name of the board, Hernan, Aristotle, and Diano for the time that they devote to this very important task. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Now let me share information that will be useful so that you better understand the financial report that is subject to approval by the associate members. As you all know, out of transparency and we hire an external auditor for and that is KPMG. It's an opinion with a favorable opinion about our balance, and the detailed information and the financial statement and the opinion of the external auditors was shared together with when we called for this assembly, and in a website it's under transparency tabs. Now let's see the financial situation. To your left we have the assets, the goods and right, and to the right the balance, balance and the net worth. And here we want to highlight the financial strength of our organization. There, well, we include the money in the banks, in the investment, and there we have the liabilities, especially because of delays in Argentina because of the new regulations of the new government as of December 2023. This was a joint work that enabled us to unblock our restrictions and to resume normal work. And there you have the balance of the prepayments, and well, there are some vacancies that in the staff that have to be covered by the end of the year. And in the net worth, for the first time, we see a small reduction as compared to the previous year. This reduction is because we had a negative results this year. We had already mentioned this, and therefore we have a reduction in our reserves. The result was less than the budget, and thanks to a number of actions to limit the expenditures, reducing the activities. As to the results of the year. Here we can see a high-level summary of how we reach those conclusions. The operative revenues were reduced by 10%, while operative expenditures increased. Other net results had a significant increase because of a favorable international context with higher interest rates than we had until then. Now, let us discuss each component. Let's start with the operative revenues. You see in the chart that the total number is stable compared to the previous year, with only a 1% difference. As to the internal composition, the revenues for memberships of ISP and the NERS, there was a mild increase, and this, what accounts for this is that there are more requests, more new ones, and new in the category of IPv6 more. And the ASN assignments were a bit lower, and this reflects the normalization of the request, because in the previous years we had an abnormal increase because of regulations in the region that favored such an increase, especially in Colombia. So to summarize, the performance of the revenues behaved as expected and with no deviations as compared to the previous year. Now, as to the operative expenditures, especially the main spending is in remunerations, and the raises because of inflation. Dissemination spending, this in 2023 it grew because part of the costs of the were absorbed by the local host. Travels of the staff, commission center board, although the overall spending was higher, the total amount is similar to the previous to the pandemic, but with fewer travels. And this is because of we are resuming in-person travels, but the air tickets have increased because of inflation in the United States. Fees and hired services, we have tools for our members and the community, including Milacnic Campus and PDP, the public policy development process. And the rest is within normal ranges. So we said earlier that this is important. It's important to highlight that all year round we did our best to contain the spending, but while keeping our operative plan. Now we have other net results. The positive performance of our financial investment respond to a favorable international scenario with fees rates that are significantly higher than in previous years, and our policies that are flexible allowed us to make the most of such opportunities. That is not to say that in the future this will remain, because the latest regulations in the United States will keep us on edge. And I'd like to highlight how this is being monitored by the Finance Committee, which is essential to ensure our members and our board that we can be reassured that we'll continue to be able to work. And now I invite the members of the Fiscal Committee, Adriana Ibarra, Hernan Arcidiacono, and Aristoteles Dantas, who will tell us about their work and to share their opinion. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have and you'd like to ask me after they have completed their presentation. Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. I'm Adriana Ibarra. I'm a member of the Ethics Committee and of the Fiscal Committee, and I'm here with my colleagues of the Fiscal Committee. Hernan and Aristoteles and myself are here to share with you and tell you about the functions we carry out and to share with you the opinion of the Fiscal Commission. The Commission is composed of 3 members. We have this position for a 3-year period. Every year, one of the 3 members changes. Some can be re-elected, or someone that meets the job description can fit this position. So I will tell you now, share with you a description of the task we carry out. I invite you to read Article 27, of Chapter 5, that has to do with the bylaws of LACNIC that describes our task. But to give you a practical example of the activities we carry out here, as members of the Fiscal Commission, we are elected by you, as members of the Assembly, and by the membership. We don't report to the board. We don't report to LACNIC staff. We are here representing you as members. You vote for us in order to verify the financial operations of LACNIC. A practical way to say this is that LACNIC has an external auditor. It was KPMG now in this case. So we represent you. We travel to Montevideo, where we have an in-person meeting together with the external auditors. This is in addition to the communications we have with them prior to when they begin this task, in order to facilitate the information they need for their activity. We are at their disposal in order to have the required information. So this contact is very important. Therefore, there is a detailed audit carried out by KPMG. In addition to that, we go to that in-person meeting in Montevideo, which is a 2-day meeting. We do random verification of documents. Hernan will tell you more about that. In addition to the meeting we have in Montevideo, we are present during the May event to be in contact with the members of the board. We have a meeting with them, and this is also to present the report and be in contact with the members. So without going into every single detail regarding what you have here on the screen, I would say that the points we covered in the meeting were the following. We received many presentations regarding the budget, regarding the financial reports, regarding the update on the policies. We also received presentations on the evaluation of the external auditors this year. It was KPMG. So this has to do with what they saw during the revision. We also had a private meeting with them. We can freely speak with them during that meeting with the external auditors. And that is where our job begins. Our job consists in requesting information, requesting evidence, so that based on sampling we can confirm what is included in the presentations. This commission has been active for many years now, working on this process, and instead of being thorough, we decided to share with you very briefly what are the things we observe repeatedly. The reality is that every year we conduct these reviews, and what we note is a very professional organization. You are all aware that some of the processes are certified following the ISO 9001 quality standards. Many processes are documented. Documentation can just be a formality, but these are systematized processes, and they're also auditable. Many things had to be sought in several papers in different parts, but today everything has been systematized. This makes a job easier and the task of review much simpler. This is also a very transparent organization. Whenever we ask for something, and sometimes we ask for too many things without even realizing this, but we never encountered any barrier to the information we request. This is not only for doing our job, this also covers many of the concerns that we might have. Very often, this is a task that is outside our scope of work. And finally, this is an organization that we see is open to improvement. We produce an opinion that you will see shortly. That is the formal part. But we also write a document suggesting improvements to the board. And in the track record, I've been for 9 years in this commission, but 100% of our suggestions have been implemented. Every year, whatever we suggest, the following year we review, and these suggestions have been implemented. So beyond the details as to how we carry out our task, we would like to highlight that the positive things we do when we carry out these audits, and you have voted us to carry out these tasks, that you are aware of the things we note. Now I give the floor to Aristoteles. Good evening. I'm going to speak Brazilian Portuguese, which is my language. It's a pleasure to meet you today here during this wonderful hall. And this has to do with the task we have and sharing the report that summarizes the work we did during the year. We only go to Montevideo once a year to work there. We interact throughout the year. All the things that we heard about here reminded me of my first year at LACNIC as a member of the Fiscal Commission. And I have seen how this community has evolved in order to be transparent, in order to be understood, and also to implement and carry out the tasks with great effectiveness. All those of you who are here should be aware how much time these individuals dedicate time to this to provide more and correct information. So I will now read the official document to guarantee that ultimately you can all state your opinions on what was presented by the CEO or by the financial director, in addition to the treasurer. So this is the opinion of the Fiscal Commission. This is a report produced by Hernan, Aristoteles, myself, and Adriana. This meeting was an in-person meeting, and in response to the above, we issued an opinion regarding the financial report of the period ending on December the 1st, 2024. The conclusions are, first, the results of the auditing of the financial statement of the period ending on December 31st, 2024, carried out by the firm KPMG as an independent auditor. The results of this audit has been favorable, and the financial statements and reports reasonably reflect all the significant aspects of LACNIC's situation as at December the 31st, 2024. Secondly, as a result of the analysis carried out by the Fiscal Commission of the report of the independent auditor and of the documentation that was submitted, requested to LACNIC, we conclude that the results and the data presented reasonably reflect the situation of LACNIC as at December 31st, 2024, whereby we recommend their approval by the General Assembly as per LACNIC's bylaws, March 18, 2025 Fiscal Commission. Thank you. Obrigado. Gracias. So thank you very much to those who presented this report, to the members who are present. If there are no further comments, we will then proceed to vote the following motion: approval of the financial reports, report of the external auditors, fiscal commission, and the annual report of the board. We submit this to voting through the voting system, which is now opened.
Recuerden que si hay alguien que tiene
Let me remind you that if anyone has any inconveniences, so that LACNIC's team can help you out.
¿Alguien tiene dificultades para votar?
Please let us know if you have any issues with the voting system.
¿Alguien todavía no ha podido votar?
Has anyone been unable to vote? If no one has any problems with the voting, Eduardo?
Aguardamos unos minutos para que se resuelva un
So we'll wait just a few minutes until we can solve a difficult case. If you're having trouble, could you let us know now?
¿Alguien más?
Anything else? So now we'll close the poll. 2 against, 3 abstentions, 528 votes in favor, and 36 are not voting. 558 overall. So the motion is approved. Now the third item of the order of the day, appointing 2 members. Well, Ariel Greiser and Edmundo Casares are invited to sign the minutes. So this, as this is not a controversial poll, the voting system will be closed will be put an end after 5 minutes.
Alguien aquí arriba, por favor, que no pueden votar.
Up here, please, there's somebody that's having trouble voting. Here, there's an issue.
¿Alguien tiene algún problema todavía? ¿Alguien?
Anybody's having trouble? Given the nature of these votes, it's not controversial, so we'll close it in a minute.
Ok, procedemos a cerrar la votación.
So now we close votes. 448 votes in favor, 8 against, 28 abstentions, and 86 do not vote. It's approved by a majority and without any further issues to discuss. At 6:25 minutes, we close the assembly, and well, see you in the next assembly. An applause. Those, if you want to stay and try the new polling system, we wanted to use the new polling system, but only those of you who are ready to help for the sake of next year's polls. Well, thank you for coming to the assembly, and thank you for your patience and your contributions. Before we close today, we'd like to use the new system, and so we ask you to please access the URL on the screen. The new system incorporates improvements that speed up the polls. Now you can consult previous results without a need to enter the username and the password for each question. We maintain the same structure and the format during the polls, and as usual, out of security, we only allow one device to connect per entity. So, and if you have any problems, you can raise your hand and a member of our staff can go and help you. So I invite those of you who want to stay to test it. And the last question, for those who want to help us in this, while as we assess the system, the question is, if you were to choose between liquor and coffee for the afternoon coffee break, what would you rather have? So the question is open. If you have any problems, please let us know. In the meantime, Ignacio Cordova, well, Aristoteles, please don't leave. And when you finish with the polls, come here.
Tenemos una mano levantada acá al centro. 2, 3, 4, 5.
So some have raised your hands here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. Okay.
As we were just testing, we're going to put an end to this. This is enough. The number of people that connected is enough. Thank you all for your collaboration. Yes, thank you all. So now hand in the tools. Tomorrow we'll be waiting for you at 9 a.m.